and welcome to the Craft Beer Corner. For today's beer review, we're jumping into a beer from Lupulin Brewing Co. out of Big Lake, Minnesota. We've only done a handful of their beers, and it's definitely been a while, but this is one I saw pop up on my Tavour feed a few months ago. I had this one set aside, kind of forgot about it. But today's beer in question is simply called Oktoberfest. It is, of course, a Märzen style beer, or Oktoberfest style, what they serve at the Oktoberfest Festival. 5.7% ABV on this one, and they say it's 30 IBUs. Label art on here, very cool. It actually does look rather like a kind of classic German-themed label there. And they've got some of the classic Oktoberfest blue and white kind of checkering, which you'll see all over the place at the festival. They do give us some information about the hops and the malts on the back. Herzbrucker hops, Vienna, Munich, and Pils, as well as looks like Kara Munich. Yeah. So they went kind of for like an American interpretation of a classic setup for a Märzen style beer. This is a little bit higher ABV than you would typically find on a German Märzen, but it's in the ballpark. 5.7, it's not off the mark. I like the can, it looks great. We're going to use our nice tall all-purpose glass here today. Get this cracked gently. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that is looking lovely. Looking like a classic German Märzen. It's got that kind of orangey ambery hue. Looks stunning in the glass, forming a nice head, so we'll let that settle down a bit. Yep, you can see this nice clean carbonation rushing up, very tight, tiny, fine champagne-like bubbles, which obviously help contribute to this lush head. Let's get right up over this for a sniff. Wow. You know, if I didn't know this were an American brewer and it was in a lineup blindfolded, I would not be able to tell you this was not a German-produced Märzen. It smells just like it should. Got a little bit of the kind of hop aroma coming out on there, a little bit of a citrus, a little bit of a floral kind of accent, and some underlying earthiness. And then just leading with a ton of this caramelized malt underneath. It smells just like a German brewer brewed it, so I do indeed have high hopes for this. I had to settle down a bit, so let's just try to top this off just a bit more, Gently, there we go. All right, looking forward to this one, guys. Take one. Oh, yeah. Oh, that is so nice. Yeah. I'm liking everything about this. So before we get into the flavor profile, let's talk about the body and the mouthfeel. 5.7 on a Märzen. Feels like a nice medium light. It feels exactly appropriate for the style in the ABV range. In terms of mouthfeel, you can feel a little bit of resistance there, but it's not a super thick, viscous beer style, and it's not supposed to be. So yeah, texture and weight-wise, it feels top-notch. Exactly what I expected. In terms of the flavor profile, I shouldn't be surprised based on what I got information-wise out of the nose, but the flavor profile, this tastes just like a German-brewed Märzen, guys. I mean, they absolutely nailed it. Even with a little bit of an interesting kind of American craft twist on the standard ingredient loadout here, this is very true to style. So this is a really great American interpretation of what a Märzen beer is and is about. I gotta say, again, if I were blindfolded, I smelled this, I tasted this, there is no chance that I would guess that this were from an American craft brewer. I would for sure guess that this is German because they absolutely nailed the essence of this beer style, and it's absolutely fantastic. It is one of my favorite beer styles. I always find it a bit sad that outside of getting ready and shortly after Oktoberfest season, it's a style that's a little hard to find because it's just one of those great, good anytime beer styles. It could be a cold day, a hot day. It could be a reason to celebrate. Just kick your feet back up after you finished a hard day's work. Whatever the situation, this is just a great, approachable, fantastic choice for a beer. And this one is delicious. So I'm going to jump back in for a second sip. I'm going to let everything re-intensify. We're going to pick apart this flavor profile exactly. Then we're going to talk about the balance and the finish. Take two. Right when you swallow, you get this nice bitter subtlety from the hops. tastes like a hop profile you would get on any classic German Märzen. They do say specifically this clocks in at 30 IBUs. I would believe that. It's not over the top. It's not super light. It's just right. It fits well with the style. And it leads with this very doughy, very bready malt bill. There's a bit of caramelization underneath. You get caramel notes, but you also get a lot of bread and toast and crumb and kind of these doughy, more yeasty accents underneath that just pairs well with the hops that they use. This absolutely, to me, tastes just like a German brewed Märzen, and that is the highest compliment I could give any American craft interpretation of the style. Lupulin has absolutely nailed this one. This is delicious in every way. So the balance on this, I would say, spot on the money. They executed it flawlessly. There's nothing I would change about this. I wouldn't change the ratios of the malts. I wouldn't change the hop variety they chose. And I certainly wouldn't tweak with whatever their formula and, getting the gravity up to land this at 5.7. I think it makes for a wonderful, wonderful example of what a Märzen is about. And that's the highest compliment I can bestow upon a beer. In terms of the finish, this is a beer style that's not really known for a super long finish. That being said, I gotta say this one is above average. It does have a little bit more of lingering, kind of bitter and kind of bready, doughy notes that linger on the palate a bit more than you would find in your typical Oktoberfest beer. So this one to me, yeah, longer than average, but it's not as long as some. So yeah, very, very nice, guys. This is an excellent, excellent, excellent Märzen. I'm glad to report that my forgetting about this for a few months, it still tastes as fresh as I'm sure it did the day it was brewed. This is a really, really good one. I'm gonna take my time, sip on this beer, count my scores. When we come back, we will get this beer ranked from top to bottom. All right, now that we've gotten to enjoy this beer, we're gonna get it ranked. This was Lupulin Brewing Company's Oktoberfest, a Märzen that clocked in at 5.7% ABV. Lupulin is based in Big Lake, Minnesota. So guys, this was just one of those great, great beer drinking experiences for me. Like I said, as I was going through it, if you had this in a lineup of actual German Märzen beers and blinded or blindfolded me, covered them up, there is no reality I would be able to say that's not German. That tastes like it's an American interpretation. Not at all. They nailed this, I mean, just perfectly from top to bottom. And indeed, if we jump over to the scores that it received do reflect that fact. And there's only a solitary category that did not get a perfect 10 out of 10. So we're just going to jump to that one, and that is the finish. So look, guys, it's a Märzen. They're not typically known for having a super long finish. Some are longer than others, some are shorter than others. This one was definitely above average. They said 30 IBUs, and I think that the underlying bitters did do the bulk of the heavy lifting in extending the finish, though there are some German variants that are hopped even a bit more pungently. They do have a bit longer of a linger to push that finish out. But this was just a really, really great example. It was longer than average on the finish, and I did give it a 7 out of 10. So that does leave, of course, a perfect 10 out of 10 in the remaining 9 categories. That's aroma, taste, body, mouthfeel, head and retention, appearance, balance, my subjective thoughts, and example of style. So the total score on Lupulin Brewing Company's Oktoberfest is a 97 out of 100. Guys, this is just about as good as it gets. I love a good Märzen, or Oktoberfest if you want to call it that. They're basically used interchangeably. But yeah, I mean, a German Oktoberfest, German Märzen, American craft interpretation of this style, it doesn't matter. I'm always seeking these out when they drop. I feel very lucky that I forgot that I bought this. I had this stashed away in the beer cellar, and it was still just perfectly fresh, absolutely delicious. This is one of the best American interpretations of a Märzen I've ever had. If you are a big fan of Märzen beers, this is one you've got to try to pick up. I know obviously when this video is dropping, unless there's some in your local bottle shop, you may have to wait a year, but just put it on your, beer wish list so you don't forget. I got mine from Tavour. I'm hoping that they bring this one back next year. Absolutely incredible Märzen. Folks, that is today's review. As always, I do sincerely appreciate you tuning in today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to stay in the loop when our videos go live, just turn on your notifications by hitting that bell icon. Until next time, keep it beer, keep it craft. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.